What's up everybody, welcome to the channel and the video review of the Eaglet 85, the 85mm mini FPV racing drone. This is the PNP version. It is looking pretty cool with the nice carbon fiber frame prop guards, and the canopy is pretty nice looking as well. It's kind of like an aerodynamic helmet type canopy, and it is a 3D printed canopy, and a couple other stuff that are 3D printed here. Well, just these supports for the prop guards onto the motor pod is 3D printed as well. So there's some 3D printed parts on this quadcopter, but it's looking pretty nice. It's got the camera right on the top, the all-in-one VTX right on the top. So let's take a closer look at this quadcopter here. There's a dipole antenna, and I have another antenna sticking out. That would be my receiver antenna. I have installed a FrSky D8 receiver from an old quadcopter, and it is working for me. It's got the battery strap on the bottom. The battery strap, however, is a really nice thick battery strap, and it was very long to begin with, so I had to cut it off. They gave you one of those long battery straps, okay? And one thing I noticed too is right down on the motor, only two screws are holding the motors down. So they have decided to just go with two screws instead of all four screws. I'm not sure if that is to minimize the weight of the quadcopter, but the dry weight of this quadcopter measures in at 60 grams. So that is including everything except the battery. Now this carbon fiber frame, prop guard frame on the top is a complete separate unit from the X frame of the quadcopter itself here. So this is only an 85mm quadcopter that looks a whole lot bigger because of this gigantic carbon fiber frame prop protector thing here going on the top. So the camera here is a all-in-one VTX, and it is a 600 TV line CMOS camera VTX, and it is the 5.8 gigahertz, of course, with 48 channels, and it is 25 milliwatt in strength. And I believe the lens itself is around 150 degree field of view. It is nestled in right on the top there, and it's kind of glued in or something. I couldn't take it off when I took the canopy off to put the receiver on. And there's two holes on the top, one for the antenna, and this hole right here, you are able to change the channels on from the top. But I do have my receiver kind of double-sided sticky taped to this side of the canopy, and the receiver wire is hanging out, so I can't really go at it from the top. I've already set my frequency and channels to my liking, but this canopy comes off via a couple of screws right there, and you take off the screws from the bottom and the canopy comes right off. Let me show you some photos that I took while I was doing my receiver hookup, so take a look at that. So as you can see, the receiver was pretty difficult to solder on here because you have to take off the canopy, you have to take off the prop guard assembly, and you have to take off one of the props that is very close to the solder joints on the flight controller. So I managed to find out which of the joints that you needed to hook the receiver on, because this baby here did not come with any instructions. Just this box, just this quadcopter, and a plastic thing that was wrapped around, and some extra props. And you also get two of those little support arms, the 3D printed support arms in there as well. So that's the only thing that you get out of this quadcopter. So I have to go back into the product page, and I did some little research on the flight controller and typed in the name of the flight controller, and I found this on the internet. And it is one of the photos that I got off of Google search there, and it is called the Hobby Mate Racercube F3 flight controller. And here I could match it up, the whole flight controller from the quadcopter, and matched it up to this photo here, and I found that it is these three joints right here that you need to solder on the receiver wire: the ground, the 5-volt, and the SBUS or the PPM. And if you have a DSM, you use the one on the inside. All right, so, and on the ports page on BetaFlight, you will need to choose the UART3, and that is the port that it utilizes for this receiver. So it was a little tedious process of hooking up that receiver. If you can, if this thing comes with a bind and fly ready to go with the receiver, go ahead and do that. If you don't want to go through the trouble of soldering on a receiver yourself. But if it doesn't, then if you have receivers lying around like me from an old quadcopter that don't work anymore, or has, you know, a bad motor, and I'm too lazy to fix the bad motor, then take that receiver out and put it in this one, just like I did. So it works. That's pretty cool. So I save on the receiver there. The motors here are not marked, and they are the 1104 7500 kV motors with no brand on it. And we are given these 5-bladed props, and these are the 1.9 inch props. I believe these are 1935, so that is pretty cool. Now the top prop guard assembly, the carbon fiber, looks to be about 1 millimeter thick. And if you look at the X frame on the bottom, the true X frame, it kind of looks like the Shuriken X1 frame, doesn't it? It's got those little anyways, design. It is looks to be a 2 millimeter X frame there, and we have the stack of stuff right there, and it is at an angle, so it is like a diamond shape instead of the square, to save space for the props. And what we have on the bottom here is the all-in-one power distribution board with the ESC combo. And the ESCs are the BLHeli S ESCs, and they are the 10 amp ESCs that support 2 to 3S batteries. So that is fantastic. For those of you who already have some 3S batteries, you can slap that on and go ballistic on this thing. I have yet to wait for and get my 3S batteries. They are on its way, so I can test some of these micro brushless quadcopters out with some 3S batteries. I've been flying all of mine with just the 2S batteries. But the flight controller is next, right on top of it, and it is the Minicube F3 6DOF flight controller. And as you saw, it is made by this brand here. It is the Hobby Mate Racercube F3 flight controller. So I'm not sure which one is which, but that is probably the same one that they're using here. It supports DSM, SBUS, PPM, so you are able to choose whatever receiver that you want to use with this one here. And it is already flashed with BetaFlight 3.1.5, and the date is February 17, 2017, something like that. And it is the Omnibus F3 firmware, and it also has OSD, guys. And inside there's also a buzzer, and right next to the buzzer assembly there is a single LED light. And so the micro USB port to connect to your BetaFlight configurator is a little bit hard to get to as well on this quadcopter here. So you see it right there. there is the micro USB port right there. So you are not able to get into that unless you have an angled micro USB connector. But what you have to do is remove this prop, and the motor still kind of gets in the way a little bit of the wires, but you are able to slide in that micro USB cable to get into your flight controller. So that is one thing bad. Now I have put a little foam pad on the bottom, so my battery does not get hit with this little screw here or get indented. So that is one thing. I just hot glued a little piece of foam right on there. And what I also did was I put a little zip tie holding down the power cable and the JST plug there. Now this one does not come with a battery, but they do recommend you to use a 500 milliamp 2S battery. So I'm going to use some of the batteries that I already have, so I'm going to test it out with some of that. So let's go for a little line of sight flight, and then maybe perhaps we're going to do some FPV flight with the Eaglet 85, the 85 millimeter mini FPV racing drone. Alright guys, we are ready to go. I'm using this crazy 500 by Aurora RC. It is a 2S battery, 7.4 30C battery here. So this I got from another quadcopter. So let's go ahead and stick this on this quadcopter here. It is a tricky process with these very sticky Velcro straps, and you want to put that balance plug in there too, so that don't get in the way. Maybe I should have left the Velcro strap a little bit longer. Anyways, we're just gonna leave it like that and go for that flight. Let it just dangle, I guess. All right, ready to go?
Welcome to OpenTX.
All right, Eaglet 85 is set. Pretty cool beeper, huh? All right, we are ready to go. And all right, hooked on. All right, it comes already preset with some PIDs that are a tiny bit higher than the default BetaFlight PIDs, but the D values were set at 20, so I just bumped it up to about 25, and it seems to be pretty stable here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. It seems a little bit heavy, even though it's only 60 grams, but man, because of the canopy and the prop guards and those 3D printed prop guard support, it's adding on a lot of weight that is kind of unnecessary actually. So if you can get the VTX off and just kind of mount the VTX with minimum amount of weight, you can get rid of the canopy, you can get rid of the support for the prop guards, so it will become a very light and agile quadcopter. But it's flying pretty good actually. It's got a pretty decent amount of power too. Okay, let's do a little punch out. That's pretty good. That was a full punch out. One more time. Hey, that is more than good enough, I think. It's not like the King Kong 110 GT where it just lifts and stays up there. This one has a little bit of weight and it is coming down, but I don't see any oscillations or hear any kind of oscillation sound. So that is fantastic. Not bad, not bad. Oh, the battery just kind of came off and it is dangling. All right, I'm going to bring it in for a landing, guys. Haha. So obviously I didn't do a very good job at putting on the battery. All right, so let's go ahead and put on some goggles and do a little bit of FPV flight. All right, we're ready to go. Okay, arming it. All right, my very first flight with the Eaglet 85 on-screen display looks pretty good. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, guys, we're going to continue the same flight. I'm using the same battery. I went to go and retrieve the quadcopter there. I don't know what happened. I think the receiver that I'm using, the old D8 receiver, has limited distance, and it came down right around 70 meters. So we're going to stay close within the 70 meters and test out this quadcopter here. And it is doing good. It is very, very smooth. Oh, there's a little twitch there. I don't know what that was. It could have been my thumb. Yeah, sometimes it happens that way. But I don't know what happened. The receiver just gave out, I guess. It just lost communication and it just went straight down. So I didn't get any brownouts or anything like that. It just went straight down. So that is probably it. And I need to do the receiver with another good XM receiver or XM Plus receiver, or one of those type of receivers to go a little further distance. But so far, this quadcopter is very nice. It's a really nice flyer. I thought with all that prop guards and all that garb with added extra weight, that is really, really unnecessary. So maybe in the future, I might take some of those off. But so far, it is doing fantastic. It is doing acro maneuvers, and it is not going down in altitude. I'm able to lift it back up. It's fantastic. And can you imagine if you take off all of that extra weight, how it will perform? And guess what? Some of the recording that I did while I was flying right now, somehow it wasn't there. It just got mushed. So maybe while I was walking towards the quadcopter when it dropped to the ground, my recorder was in my pocket. It was my phone, so it wasn't. I paused it by moving around. I'm not sure what happened there, but all of the recording was just not there. So a little bit later, you're going to hear the recording again. It'll continue. So I don't know what happened here. Here is that recording, and it is going to continue. They replace it with the same screw because they don't give you extra ones. So that's one thing bad. They don't give you any extra parts here. But it is a very accurate flyer. And this is the PIDs that it was set on. Okay, I hear the beeper going off. So I'm going to bring it in for a landing. So that is around the flight time on this thing. And I got blackout. Whoa. Yeah, 5.6 volts is showing. And I just had a brownout. All right, so that is the flight of the Eaglet 85, the 85 millimeter racing quadcopter with the brushless motors, the micro, that is well protected with the carbon fiber prop guards. All right, guys, we are going to go for another flight because the first one was kind of interrupted with that droppage. So I got a fresh battery in here, and let's go for that second FPV flight. All right. And this time around, yeah, we will stay close. I got a 450 milliamp Gao-Ning battery this time around. So it should do pretty good. Pretty decent. It's got the speed, even with all that weight, it's still got the speed. And it still can function and do acro moves. Don't go too far. Not bad, even with the 2S. Very quick. Yep, it's got lots of power. Not bad at all. Okay, I hear the beeper going off again. So this one doesn't have a lot of flight time. Yep, on time was only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that is the flight time on this thing. Yep, turn it off before I get another brownout. All right, guys, that is the second flight of the Eaglet 85, the 85 millimeter micro brushless RC quadcopter. Thank you again for watching, and definitely we will see you again next time.